Welcome to the Extra Pass podcast presented by Melbourne United. I'm your host, Ben Hopkins, joined as always by my co-host, Adam Ballinger. Balls, how are you today?
Doing wonderful.
That's great to hear. And we're joined by a very special guest, birthday boy, Nathan Crosswell. Nathan, how are you?
I'm well. I wasn't expecting everyone to. I was trying to just slide through the day today and nobody knows, but everyone's telling me I'm teamworks. It's all happening. So, yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, we're very excited to have you on. Obviously, you're new to the club. Can you talk a bit about, why you've come back to United, a bit about your role here and what you'll be doing over the course of the season?
Yeah, I guess I finished up playing in 2013, I think, and moved back to Melbourne and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And luckily enough for me, a role presented itself at Sandringham, and I've been there for kind of 10 years, started out doing clinics, a lot of promotional stuff, real 5 to 8 year old programs. And it kind of just morphed into me, ended up being the director of coaching there. And, when I was a player, I was a point guard and really enjoyed kind of teaching and all those things. And, doing that role there for that many years was great. But, for me, it's, I want to get back in on the court. That role was more kind of administration and working with teams and working with coaches and trying to make them better. For me now, where I'm at in my life, I want to coach. So I thought this was a good step in getting in and helping run the junior academy, which I'm really familiar with, having done it for 10 years. And then also, as we mentioned before, being on the floor with, the NBL guys is awesome. And, eventually where I really want to get.
I've got a couple sons in the Sabres program, and Crosswell has been awesome over there. He amazingly knows how many names you think you know. He knows every kid's name, every parent's name. I coach, and I forget my kid's name after the Christmas break. He knows every single person over there. How many total names do you think you know?
Oh, well, I would say comfortably I'd know all the boys. So that's 25 teams, so 250 kids. I'd know a fair chunk of the parents as well. And then also I know a fair few on the girl side. So you're probably looking at 300 or 400.
Easy. But you ran the boys side. So you're not just that's why you don't dislike girls.
No, I love girls. I've got 2 of them myself.
Yeah, I know, I'm just kidding.
It was just more that I spent more time with the boys.
With all the boys. Yeah. A lot of parents, a lot of questions. How many emails would you get walking in after a weekend? Would you get quite a few, or is it?
Yeah, there'd be a few. It's one of those things where, sport is an amazing thing. And for parents, their kids are really important. To us, they were really important, but, you receive a few and you talk them through things. And, once you could kind of have that conversation and figure out, why things had happened, they'd usually settle down and everything would be okay.
Did you often find yourself battling with the helicopter parents being like, well, why isn't my son getting 25 minutes a night or anything like that?
Yeah, it's certainly an issue because, they do a lot of training, they're involved a lot, and, the reward for them is being on the floor and playing. And, with Friday night basketball, as Adam will attest to, is, you've got a 40-minute game where the clock doesn't stop and you're trying to rotate 10 kids through there. So sometimes, you'll miss a kid or you'll miss a rotation and they don't play as much. But, our philosophy was that, over time and over the year, everybody would get, roughly equal court time, depending on where the team sits, in their leagues.
I guess how exciting is it for you now coming into the Melbourne United Basketball Academy to potentially set up, a pathway for kids in that academy to hopefully work their way up and be on this NBL court and be here at Hoop City working with, our NBL team?
Yeah, I think that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? We'd love to be able to get a player come all the way through that pathway and then get that opportunity, whether that takes 1 year, whether it takes 5 years, who knows? For me coming in, I've been in the role for 3 weeks now, so it was more coming in and observing and seeing what's going on in the academy, and it all looks like it's going really well. I've obviously come up with a few things where I think that we can tweak it and make it a little bit better, and we'll start to layer that in over the next few weeks. But certainly excited about it. I love the development side, with that 12 to 18 age group. I think I think we can do some special things with the program and build it to a point where we've got more kids in it. They're playing basketball, they're learning the Melbourne United way, and trying to link the two between, me being able to work with the NBL team and bringing some of that back to those sessions where the kids will be able to go to games and say, oh, wow, we're doing that stuff in training, or, there's my coach that's doing down on the bench with the team, and, that will excite them. They'll see things that the team's doing, and, hopefully we can move it forward and build it into something special.
And obviously you're getting a very close look at it. You spent a lot of time on the court with our boys during the preseason. What's that been like? And I guess, can you give us a bit of your thoughts on this group that we're putting together? Obviously a fair few of them away on FIBA duties right now, but how exciting is it for you to work with them and see what we're building coming up to the next season?
Oh, I'm really, really excited about the group as a whole. Once you get everyone back in here and everybody healthy, I think, there's no question that the group's going to put themselves in a really good position to challenge for that championship. Obviously, you need a little bit of luck along the way, with injuries and sicknesses and illnesses and things like that. But certainly put a roster together that I think can compete. It's been awesome being back on the floor. Like, having been out of that environment for 10 years since I played, it's awesome. And it's an eye-opener, and it's a lot of learning for me, when you start talking about terminologies and style of play and the different things that they're doing on the floor now is a lot different to when we played Adam. So it's been awesome, and I think the group's in a really good spot.
When you first got here, did you march the team up and show them your name on the championship trophy? Just were they already aware of your pedigree?
No, I didn't. I guess for me, the first thing that I wanted to do was just kind of create some relationships with the players because, as you know, 10 years is a long time removed from playing. Like, a lot of these guys may not have known that I ever played. So yeah. I didn't want to walk in and start going, hey, look at me. Oh, look at it. But, over time, it's been mentioned a few times that, I did win a championship in 2007, 2008, which was obviously with the Melbourne Tigers at the time. But, just building that relationship, and over time, I'm sure I'll drop it in there a few times just to remind them.
Yeah. Show them your tattoo.
Yeah.
How exciting is that or how appealing was that to you as, I guess, a carrot to come back to United, somewhere that you've obviously got that close relationship with and hopefully helping this club, reach another championship?
Yeah. For us, like us as a family, like we followed United. So my kids, for the last however many years that it's been, we've been coming to United games, and they love going to the games. They all love it for a different reason. My girls love it for the face painting and the cheerleaders, and my son loves it for the game. So, it's got a little bit for everybody. But no, it was really exciting when I, kind of had the thought of, potentially leaving Sandringham. It was a big decision for us as a family, but for me, going through the process and knowing people here already made things really easy, and the way that they sold it to me was a no-brainer for me to come and sink my teeth into the academy, but also get exposure to the professional guys at the NBL level.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to get into a bit more about your career and obviously that championship you won with the Tigers. And we're going to get into a bit more of that after the break.
Melbourne United memberships are on sale now. Lock in your seat for the most exciting show in Australian sport and guarantee you're there for every highlight across next season. To find out more, go to membership.melbourneutd.com.au.
And we're back on the Extra Pass presented by Melbourne United here with Nathan Crosswell. Crossy, let's get into a bit about your career. Obviously, you start with the Tigers. You come in from the junior program to a pretty impressive team with the likes of Gaze and Copeland and Bradkey. What was that like going, from that junior program and stepping into a team with such great stars?
Yeah, it was amazing. An amazing environment to learn. You go in there and each day you're rubbing with the likes of, you just mentioned you've got Gaze and Copeland and Bradkey and all these players, and it was a massive learning experience for me. I probably, not a lot of people know, but when I first come down to Melbourne, you get to a point where you go, oh yeah, I thought I made it, and I was lazy and I didn't eat the right things. I didn't do the right things along the way, and got a little bit fat and overweight and all those things. And, that's maybe just being comfortable in the position and, got to a point where it was like, well, I've either got to have a crack at this or not. Luckily for me, it was meeting Brian Gorgian in the end. I ended up shifting clubs and going to the Titans and, kind of the rest is history. So
he probably wasn't afraid to tell you were out of shape.
No, he certainly wasn't. It was a conversation can I come and train with you guys? And he's like, how about you come for a week and I'll tell you at the end of the week whether you can hang around or not. So you go to the week and you do the training. And he was great enough to let me hang around and put some things and goals for me to work on regarding, my diet and skin folds and all those things. Had I not had, Brian Gorgian in my life, I don't know if I would have gone on to play, the games that I did.
Yeah, I guess what was that like? You talk about, the move from Melbourne to the Titans/Giants, crosstown rivals really, and had some pretty intense battles. Was there, I guess, what was it like making that move and sort of thinking like, oh, I'm sort of really jumping sides here?
Yeah, I remember it being the toughest thing that I ever had to do was to make a phone call to Brian Gorgian, just to see whether there was an opportunity for me to do it. I was lucky it went to voicemail. So I left a message and he ended up calling me back, but it was really difficult. But it was, for me, was, as you mentioned, the stars that were already there, it was going to be limited opportunity for me to play at that level. And I really wanted to try and get there and make a go of it. So the move was the best thing that ever happened. Completely different programs, Melbourne Tigers, not relaxed, but they kind of had the way that they did it. The Titans at the time were the complete opposite. We were doing weight sessions, track sessions, individual sessions, 2.5-hour training sessions. Like, it was exactly what I needed in my life to show me what you needed to do to be professional and play at that level. So, as I said, I'll always be thankful for that.
All right, Cross. So what time frame are we talking about? Because we are teammates. I've been teammates with most of the guys on here. So my rookie year was 2003.
Yep.
So we're talking about all this you're talking about now is before that, right? Before
that. It was before that. And it was, I think it was right before the Titans folded and ended up becoming the Giants. I had 2 years or 2 seasons with them before that. One was just training with them as a training player, similar to a Campbell Blog situation last year, and then got to the end of that year and ended up getting a full-time contract with them.
So the Titans folded and the Giants kind of picked up where they left off?
They did.
And that was the team I came
on. And then
to.
that's when you came.
That was your second year, and then they folded.
Yeah, it did.
A lot of folding in the NBL in that time period.
It certainly was.
What I'm hearing is they were hanging on, and then Balls came in and took all the money.
No, I didn't even know what I was getting paid back then. I was just so happy to be able to go someplace to play basketball without having to also go to classes. That was fun. It wasn't, certainly didn't show up for the money, but to be, living in Australia with young guys like Crossy was a good time in my life.
Reese Carter as well. The big
Reese
three.
Carter. Yeah. Big three, 2-point guards and a shooter. They got me the ball. And then we won how many games did we win? We won 2 out of our first 3. We were humming.
I will flying.
Yeah. We kind of fell off a cliff after that. But if you watch those first 3 games, we were killing it.
Maybe we just get a highlight tape up, get a mixtape going.
That would be fun to see. I still have some of those posters, the promotional posters. I found them in the garage the other day. Should bring them on could that be bonus content?
I'm sure. Yeah, maybe some paid
maybe
content
a link
if anyone wants it.
Yeah.
What was Balls like coming in as a rookie? I know we heard a little bit from Reese when he was on the show a few weeks ago, but what was Balls coming in like as a rookie? Obviously a national champion. Someone that came in, we're hoping for big things from him. What was he like as a rookie, especially yourself coming in as someone who had been there for a few years?
Yeah, I'd been there for a couple of years, but, he come in and did everything right. He worked hard. He did everything that was asked of him. Obviously, we were very up and down throughout that year, but I think he for us was, a big man who could come in, could stretch the floor, could shoot it for us. I'll always remember there was one day we're doing a shooting drill and he was 48 out of 53s. I don't know if you would ever remember that, but
happened all the time, so I probably
But
you were annoyed because that was the one day you went 50 for 50.
Yeah, no, I've never done that. All right, that's enough compliments about me. This isn't about me. But for me to come in, like we were a lot of us were the same age. Like Crosby was my age, Reese is a little bit younger. Yeah, man, it was fun basketball. And it just like I said, I was lucky to be able to come to the team because we had another big name import. And he's the one who took all the money, and they needed another import who didn't want much money, just wanted. I didn't have a very good senior year in college, but eventually, there's a couple guys out here playing that had also graduated from Michigan State, so I had an in with that. But yeah, I was just lucky to get out here and get on a team, and then kind of forge my way after that. But if it were now, I would have never. There's no way I was coming from what I did in college to out here now. So it was pretty lucky back then to get in, and then. Yeah, stick around as long as I did.
Yeah, I want to circle back to something you said a little bit before about you working as a training player and then eventually getting your opportunity, and you link that to Campbell. That's the path he's gone on, and he's gotten a development player contract with United. I guess with your connection with the Sabres, how exciting was that for you to see him be rewarded for all the work that he had put in, especially as a guy that wasn't he wasn't a superstar the entire way through at Sandringham, just a kid that sort of worked his butt off and got the opportunity in the end.
Yeah, it was such a, when he called me, I was so proud of him because it was the first kid that we've had come through our program from under 12s through to under 18s or youth league and then actually get a development player spot or a contracted player spot in an NBL club. So, it was an awesome effort by him. It was just, yeah, it's hard to put into words, what he's done. And he, as you mentioned, he wasn't the kid, I think he made maybe an under 14 one team and maybe an under 18 one team along the way, but continued to just put the work in because he loved the game. And I'm just so happy for him that he's rewarded with, the work that he's done. It's helped that he grew a lot over that time and he has some natural abilities, but he never deviated from the course. He just kept putting his head down and putting in the work and trusted that would essentially get him to where he wanted to be. And, he's been lucky to have, Barlow and Reese in his corner the last few years at Melbourne United to help him, with style of play and all this stuff, which has made his transition really easy. But, credit to him. He's been awesome in that space.
Sneaky athlete Campbell blog. They did their high performance testing the other day. I'm pretty sure he had the third highest max reach on the team, only behind Ariel and Joe. It was I think it was
Reach?
11'10".
Is that so
highest
jump?
you could jump?
Oh, he can jump. I was going to say reach. Yeah, I thought you meant just his wingspan.
No,
that doesn't make you an athlete. That's just his arm.
I mean, if you had an 11'10" wingspan, I think you'd be in the circus.
11'10". Jeez.
But even a max jump reach, like he's what?
That's unreal.
6'5", 6'4"?
Yeah.
And he's a pretty unassuming, he doesn't look like he's the biggest, no disrespect, Campbell, if you're listening, but, he's not exactly a Rajon Tucker-like athlete from the outside. But, yeah, I was blown away when I saw that.
He is. He's had some dunks this year in the NBL one there at Sandringham that you just go, wow, I didn't know you actually had that in you. He's he is. He's a really good athlete, and that's testament to the work that he's put into.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting back to a bit about your career, obviously you play with balls at the Giants, and then you go to Cairns and eventually end up back in Melbourne where, you forge out a role and help them win a championship. What was that like as sort of a full circle moment to come back where your career started?
Yeah, it was unreal. It was, as you mentioned, spent 2 years up in Cairns.
Just enjoying the sun.
Yeah, and we loved our time up there. It was brilliant. The winter time is just magic. Summer's not so great because it's wet and it's really hot and it's really humid. But we had some really good years up there with some really good people. And for me, it was always, if I was to get an opportunity to come back to Melbourne to play in front of, family and friends and all that stuff, we were certainly going to do it. And that opportunity arose, and I was really lucky with the group that I was coming back with. You've got your likes of D-Mac and Chris Anstey and Dave Thomas, one of your ex-teammates, Stephen Hall, Daryl Coletto, Tommy Greer. Like, it was a really good group of guys that I had already had really great relationships for, and it was a really easy transition for me to come back and play here. And I think we made the grand final 3 years, and only for me was only able to crack one championship, but they'd won one a couple of years earlier.
I mean, I'd be happy with one championship. Championship's a championship.
I'll take one too. I'll take one.
No, we were certainly happy with it. It's you can go your whole career and not win one, and I'll certainly take the one. I won't give it back.
Was it? You played who'd you play in those three? The Dragons.
We played Sydney that year. We won it. So the first year I come back, we played lost to Brisbane in 4. I think that was the year they had Sam McKinnon and CJ and all those guys. Then the next year was up in Sydney, so it was a game 5 win for us up there. I think game 4 we were 18 up at the end of the third quarter, and
I remember that. Gorging after the game's
running. Yeah, he's running around like crazy. Yeah. But we lost that, and then the funny thing about that, I remember everyone leaving that night and going home. We had a flight the next morning. I don't think anybody spoke, and I think Chris Anstey's actually spoken about this before, is nobody spoke on the plane until we got up there and we got into a room and watched video and went, we really blew that. I don't think there was ever a chance we were going to lose that game 5. So it was pretty nice to win up there in front of 11,000 people, whatever it was.
Is it moments like that just galvanize a team? And it's just, obviously this was our opportunity to win it, but a really sort of a back-breaking moment that instead just brings everyone together and sort of, as you said, makes you say, there's no way we can lose this.
Yeah, if I'm going to be honest, I would have loved to have won at home. All my family and friends had come from, mum and dad had come down from Ballina, and I had mates come down, all that stuff. Now, see you, I've got to go. But, it was one of those things where we lost it. We knew we blew it. Nobody talked. Nobody said anything. We didn't conversate. It was nothing. It was just like, we're getting on a plane. We're going up here. We're going to do a job. We're going to win it. And then we're going to come home. And that's what happened.
And then you get another opportunity to play with Balls in Adelaide. How much had he matured by then?
Yeah, like a fine wine, old Balls. The Adelaide thing was different. I thought we'd had a pretty good first year, and I think Balls got injured, unfortunately, in that year. And then, the start of the second year, I did my Achilles. So we had both of us sitting there in bloody moon boots for, however long it was.
We're stepping on the fast 5 with Balls here, but on a couple different things. But we were both pretty much a whole season.
Yeah.
Not even able to we would go to practice, but we couldn't even walk. Like we were on crutches for a whole season watching it, and it was frustrating.
It was really hard.
It
was really hard.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't mean to bring up bad memories, so my apologies. But we will get to Fast 5 with Balls after this break with Nathan Crosswell.
Want to stay up to date with everything happening in Melbourne United? Download the Melbourne United app today. Filled with videos, audio and articles about your favourite team. It's the one-stop shop for everything Melbourne United. Download the Melbourne United app via the App Store on iOS or the Google Play Store on Android.
And we're back on the Extra Pass podcast, and it's time for everyone's favourite segment. It's Fast 5 with Balls.
Ready?
This is Fast 5 with Balls.
Been waiting for this the whole time. Now we're on to the fun stuff. They're hard hitting, so I hope you're ready.
All right. Okay, Cross. So I came in with you. We'd already talked about that. When I first gotten here, we were going on a mini camp type thing. I forget where we went. I think down to Sorrento area, which I didn't know where it was, so we could go anywhere. I didn't know what direction. Didn't matter to me.
It wasn't
Hop
Bluffton.
On a bus. No, it wasn't. We weren't going back to Bluffton. Hop on a bus, and the bus had 2003. It had you could watch movies on the bus, and you brought a bag full of VCR tapes.
Did I?
Yeah. This is 2003, so. So it was VCR tapes were just on the way out. Everyone could see the future. These aren't going to last. And, you're putting them in. I think I was looking at them or something. And I was like, you were asking me if I wanted to borrow some or something like that. I said, I don't have a VCR. You're like, you don't have a VCR. You were just flabbergasted that I didn't have a VCR. Are you still a tape guy? Do you collect tapes, or have you moved on to DVDs or even streaming to now?
No, I've certainly moved on to streaming now. I did have a massive collection of DVDs.
Yeah.
So they've kind of just ended up in the back of the garage at home, and we kind of go through them every now and again or more just to show the kids that it's not just on demand and you can't just have whatever you want all the time. Like we had to actually put something into the VCR, into the DVD.
There's like tapes are kind of like records a little bit now. It's like people do collect them. I didn't know if you're just back then you're just a huge VCR and tape guy.
I must have been.
You're into it.
I can't
you're
remember.
Probably watching like
I certainly did have some.
Not Happy Gilmore or Billy Madison.
Billy Madison,
like
one of my favorites.
Do you remember any of the ones that you brought on the bus?
I wish we.
I had no idea. I couldn't even remember this story. I remember us going to Sorrento for a camp, but I don't remember.
You just thought I was such an idiot for not having a VCR.
Who's this guy?
Okay. So we talked a little bit about like you're starting the NBL. So anyone that would see you now, or when I first met you, you were like no skin full, like nothing, like in the best shape you could possibly be. And I had other people be like, yeah, he used to be fat. I was like, fat? I don't think fat was probably the right way to describe it, but like, yeah, you used to be out of shape and then you like kicked into gear, but it wasn't like it was a slow thing from what I understand. It was like you turned on a dime and you still look now like you did look back then. So you've just never gone off that kind of regimen of, healthy eating and exercising? Yeah,
I like exercising and eating the right foods and trying to give my kids an example of, the way that things should be. When you circle back to those times, like I was 103 kilos at one stage, and then I ended up playing at 83. Yeah, I was still dunking it that way too.
20 kilos.
But yeah, I got to a point where I had to make a decision, and my parents were really big on it and said, well, you've either got to make this decision or you're coming home.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, all right. I ended up meeting Vince Crivelli, who was coaching at Waverley at the time. And he kind of put me on the right path, and then I moved with him to Sandringham, and then I just kind of my mentality changed. I met Brian Gorgon and my entire life changed. And, I even got to the point where it was, I'm not eating carbs after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I wasn't drinking alcohol, and I was just like laser focused. And I think my skin folds went from like 120 to, by the time the following season had finished and I'd done that year with them, I was down to like a 55 on my skin folds. So
wowza.
I never liked the skin folds. I didn't want to know.
What was the biggest danger food when you were probably not eating as healthy?
Yeah, I'd just eat a lot of takeaway, like whether it be McDonald's, whether it was KFC or Hungry Jack's or whatever. I was just the convenience of being able to just pull in there and do it. And like I said earlier, I just felt that I'd made it. I wouldn't go in the gym. I wouldn't do anything. I would come to training, and at that time, being kind of just a training player, it was you didn't get a lot of time on the court because the main guys were on, and I just had a false sense of where I was. And once I kind of made that decision, everything changed.
Would you be the same weight now that you were back then?
No, I'm a bit heavier.
A little bit. You can't see it though, folks. You can't see. I don't know if it comes through on the screen.
Can you still dunk?
No, I can't dunk. No, I feel like anytime I start moving or running, my calves all tighten up. And
I get heckled to dunk. Every school I go to, the kids are like, they don't want to hear what you're saying. They're just like, dunk. I don't dunk on demand. So every kid
it has to be natural.
Yeah, they're like, can you dunk? I can still dunk. Not very well, but I'm pretty tall. So. And I just tell them no right to their face, and they're so like disappointed in me. They're just like, oh, "Come on, we call yourself a basketball player." But
you've still got the one hand 360.
Yeah, no, I cannot do a 360. I do a one hand over the rim. But that's about all I could do when I was playing too. All right, Karaz. So your coaching journey, like you say, you worked for 10 years at Sabres, did an awesome job, but it had to be somewhat frustrating to not actually be able to coach. It was all kind of behind the scenes stuff. So coaching wise now, are you doing a lot of individual stuff? What do you have like an ultimate goal, or like, would you like to be a team coach, or more of like behind the scenes, like working individually with players? Yeah, look, I think for me, it's, I want to get back into the NBL, and I've got a bit of work and a bit of learning to do, but like, my goal is to in, 3, 4, 5 years to be sitting on the bench as an assistant coach, whether it be here at United, whether it be somewhere else. But I'm also want to be kind of giving back to the kids. Like I've got kids coming through the Sabres program right now, and I'm
more than happy to kind of help them in, whether it be coaching a team, whether it be assistant coaching a team, whether it be helping run sessions with kids. I'm always happy to give back and do that. But that's, where I want to try and get to. And if I can't, then, it is what it is, and I move on and I find something else to do. But, ultimately I want to be, sitting on a bench back in the NBL at some point.
Yeah, that's a hard one to answer too, because Dean might be listening, and then if you go too hard into I want to be a head coach, he might demote you or something like that. Well answered.
Everyone's allowed to be ambitious.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so another one is hair. We're talking hair. This hair talk.
Yep.
Ever since I met you, you had the same buzz cut. I also had a buzz cut back then. If I didn't look this good with my hair now, I would just buzz it off. But my wife, she's just like, you gotta keep the hair. Because buzzing, it's easy. But do you ever think in the future you're gonna grow it out, maybe just a different style, maybe some lines? I could see some lines down the side, something like your number or your name in the back or
No,
anything.
I think it's just gonna be the stock standard.
Well, you got a great head of hair. I mean, that it's hard. It's a lot of discipline to buzz that off. There's guys out there our age that would die for that hair.
Oh, would they?
I think so.
There's
Yeah,
guys my age,
yeah.
like me, that would die for that hair.
Yeah, they need that hair.
No, I've always been the short hair because I've always gone with the easiest way possible.
Yeah.
So I get up in the morning and I walk out the door and I'm good to go.
Yeah,
so
no gel or
I'm lucky. I do my own hair, and then my wife comes in and kind of makes sure that I hasn't missed any bits here at the back or whatever. So no, I don't think I'll be changing anytime soon.
You wouldn't go for the Luke Travers blonde mullet to
No.
go with the pencil mustache, or
No, that's all Luke. He can roll with that.
Yeah.
I used to have the curly at the back and the big kind of afro-y thing. I'm sure you'd be able to find a photo
I've
from
never
somewhere
seen
with
that. I've only
with
seen
me
Crosby
with-
as he is right
with
now.
some hair,
It
but
looks exactly the same.
this is the way it's going to be for a while, I think.
All right, last one. Now we talked. Sorry to end on a bummer, but we already talked about it a little bit. Is when we were in Adelaide. So I had an injury. It was mishandled, and it ended up that season that you had come. We started and had a terrible off season. Anyways, coming to second game or something, I snapped some tendon on the bottom of my foot, and I was out for a year and a half. And then the next home game. I remember being with the doctor in the back room and then walking out. It was just a short walk to the court. On my way back out to the court, Crosby's getting helped off by two coaches, and he had just done his Achilles. So two of the senior players on the team were out in a matter of 2 games, and out not just for a little bit. That's a whole season and longer. I don't really have a question other than like that was, do you got any memories of that time or mentally, we've talked a lot of Achilles. This is the third guy on here who's had to go through that.
You're right.
Mentally, how did you handle that? And has it helped you in your coaching or helped you get, because I just think it's such a big hurdle to get over, and you did play the next year after that. You got any memories on that time, good or bad?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it sucked. Like I felt that, with you and me, we could really help that group. We're just with a bit of experience to kind of help, the young guys along. We had young imports, we had young players, it was a really young group. But sport, that's the way that sport is. Like I always say that, you're sitting right at here, and you're either at the best, peak condition that you can be at, or you could be injured. Like it's just that's how close it is. When you talk about memories of it, all I remember is turning around to run back on defense, and it just felt like someone had shot me in the back of my Achilles, and I knew straight away.
Yeah.
I knew straight away. And I think the best thing for me was that we had the game on the Sunday. I remember it being on a Sunday against New Zealand, so I remember exactly who it was against. And then I remember meeting the surgeon the next morning, and he's like, "Yep, you've done it." I go, "I know." And he's like, "Well, when do you want to get it done?" I said, "Well, as soon as possible," because for me, in my mind, I needed a goal of wherever. If I could just sit around and feel sorry for myself, then that would be the worst thing possible. So I ended up getting surgery the next day. I was in, it was fixed, it was done. And then I had my next goal of what I needed to meet. And we were really lucky. We had some really good people around to help us. And, I think it was 8 months later and I was back on the court and playing. So, it was tough, but, I remember days where you and me just sitting on a couch together, just watching TV, hanging out, or at practice,
his tapes, all his tapes.
videos.
I was like, "What's this DVD crap? What you got? You got a VCR? You got tapes?
Goodness gracious!
All right, man, good stuff.
What's it like, I guess, as someone who's done their Achilles and knows the amount of work it takes to get back to peak level, to be on the court and see a guy like Ariel, who it happens to him so young, and it's I think for all fans and all staff here, it was absolutely devastating. But to see his recovery and to see how he's just flying up and down the court and really looks poised to have an enormous season in NBL 24.
Yeah, it sucks when something like that. But, like you talk about ages and things, like I don't want to say it was better for him to do it at a younger age, but, the way he is able to bounce back from the recovery to be in a position where he is right now. And I think I was talking to him yesterday or the day before, and he's kind of, like 9 months or 10 months since he's done it. Like,
yeah, last year's blitz.
Do you know what I mean? So like, he's done an amazing job, and he's clearly been really diligent with his recovery and with what they've asked him to do. And, all I can remember is calf raises. That's all you're allowed to do to try and build the strength up in your calf. And he's clearly done everything, and he looks amazing out there. So he just needs to get, some more kilometers under his belt where he's up and down, and I think he's going to have a sensational season this year.
Is it fair to say that he can jump higher after him doing his Achilles than you could jump higher after you did yours?
Oh, absolutely. Like he did that test the other day and knocked the top bloody marker off it. It was amazing.
12 foot plus.
That's a lot. That's the top of the backboard. Isn't it top of the backboard 12?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know. Feet. It was amazing to watch. He just and I was like, no, he's not going to get that. No, he just got it.
Joe got it as well. Joe got it. Joe looked like he was barely trying, and he got it.
I think Tom Coppins did it too.
I think why can people jump higher now? People definitely jump higher now than they did 10, 20 years ago.
I think the floors are more springy nowadays.
Floors are springy. Yeah. The hoop might be lower, maybe. We'll look into it.
Yeah, maybe an investigative report.
Yeah, I mean, something. I mean, it couldn't be us. No. It's not our fault.
No, absolutely not. Well, Crosby, it was amazing to have you on. As a bit of a birthday gift to yourself, to get on and talk to us for a little bit.
It was sensational.
Yeah, you've made it now, finally. You did it.
No, we really appreciate you coming in. It was fantastic to talk to you and hear a bit about your journey and what you're doing here with the club. And yeah, thanks again to everyone for listening to another episode of the Extra Pass podcast.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.